Hello everybody, this is Cheri at djsundry.blogspot.com, and I have what I hope will be a simple card and yet an elegant card. I am kind of excited. I get to see my mom in a couple days. I haven't seen her in several months. She lives in a different state than I do, and we're making a flying trip through her state, and I just wanted to have this special card for her. So I gathered some of my supplies. Now, one of the first things I had forgotten I even had this when I chose the card I was going to make, and so when I was going through looking for sentiments, I knew this was perfect because my mom is a butterfly person. In fact, when I purchased a stamp set, I purchased it specifically with her in mind because a whole stamp set is simply butterflies and phrases. There are 2, 4, 6 different shapes and sizes of butterflies, and then the phrases are always be your own kind of wonderful, you are loved, happy birthday, this is your special day, dream big, and life is beautiful. So I am just going to set that little pad aside because we'll need it for the stamping. I also pulled out some embossing folders. I have 8 of them here, and yes, I used every single one. Now don't be intimidated, you don't have to. This is just something that I wanted because I wanted a lot of different textures, and I thought, well, even if I could get 4 and make them work, I would do that, but I actually found 8. So the ones that I use, this is a zebra from the Paper Studio. From Sizzix, I have the 4th Petal Flower. And from Cuttlebug, I have Victoria, Divine Swirl, Perfectly Paisley, Script, Swiss Dots, and Stylized Flower. So as you can see, there's going to be a whole lot of texture going on in this card. The paper pack that I chose is from Close to My Heart. And I was a little bit nervous because when I initially went to order it, I don't know if I just missed it or what, but it looked like it was gone. Now, you may know or you may not know that we are coming close to the end of the current annual catalog for Close to My Heart, and so a lot of things are being discontinued, and one of those things is the Blossom paper pack, and that's this paper pack that I'm using for this card. And the papers in it are stunning, and I was really disappointed when I didn't think I was going to be able to get it, so you can imagine how happy I was when I found that it was still available. There are the different two-sided papers. This is one of them. This is obviously the one that I used. This one is also pretty. And that rainbow band, there's some really cool stuff you can do with that. This one, the green. Then it had some white cardstock in it as well, some daisy white. And then a lot of what's left in here are some of the same. There are always 2 sheets of each piece of printed paper, but then you've got other colors in here as well. So just so many pretty colors. And I chose to use the white. Now the final, well, not the final thing, I'm also using, let me just set that aside, I'm using these Coral Reef sequins, Glacier ink, and then I use the Artfully Sent Cricut cartridge. And the card that I'm making was found on page 14, and it's the sleeve card, and it's cut at 7 inches. So when I was originally when I found this card, I thought, well, I'm going to make a white or maybe a light blue, because that's my mom's favorite color, card base. And then what I'll do is I will find different colors of different shades of blue pattern paper and cut it behind each, or just put individual squares behind each butterfly. As you can see, that is not what I did, because when I actually made it down to the craft room to start crafting, I thought of this other idea. So let's talk about the card base just a little bit. The card cuts in a sheet just like this. This is the way. This is 7 inches wide by about 5 inches tall, and that's how it cuts. And it cuts out all of the butterflies. And I thought, oh, that'll be pretty. Then I'll have a whole stack of butterflies to just throw in my die cut stash, and I'll use them. But instead I'm going to use them here. So instead of choosing to choose all different kind of papers, which would have still been really pretty and cute, but this is a different plan that I had. So I cut, let's start on the inside, I cut the piece of the B&T paper from the Blossom pack, and I cut it just 1/8 of an inch smaller. So I cut it at 4 and 7/8 inches wide by 6 and 7/8 inches tall. And then I took my ATG and carefully went around the outside edge. As you can see, there's not a whole lot of room for error here. And in fact, there was some, after I stuck it down, there was some extra ATG on some of the white that you see here. So I just rubbed it off with my finger. So that's how I achieved that look. So that's the front. Now another thing that I want you to notice, these cards come with little tick marks so that you can score perfectly. A little tip that I think I'm learning on these, my Martha Stewart scoreboard is not perfectly sized to be able to go at those tick marks, and what happens is then I end up with a little tiny bit of overhang here. It's not a huge deal, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up my paper punch, and I'm going to set my line right on the edge, and I'm going to just trim that off. You have to be really careful with doing that, because sometimes when you're trying to cut off tiny bits, it makes it a little more difficult to get it straight. So you have to be kind of careful, and it may not bother you, and you may just want to leave it. So this is our card base. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go do the inside of our card and our stamping. So from that stamp set, I chose one of the butterflies and the stamp that said, "You are loved," and I am going to stamp it. Now I want to kind of see where I want it. I think I'm going to put this here like so. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the "You Are Loved," and I'm going to line it up right in the corner of the card. So I'm going to take my Glacier ink, just because it's a pretty blue. And again, as I mentioned, my mom is a blue girl. I'm a purple girl. I'm more like my dad because he's a lavender person. But my mom definitely loves her blues. So I'm just going to set that there. It's very soft, and that's exactly what I'm going for. In fact, I really debated covering up this piece of cardstock of the orange because it's not quite as soft as I would have liked it to have been, but I don't want to add another layer there, so I'm just going to let it go. And of course the colors match because Glacier is one of the colors in this pack, and so there's little bits of blue in here that will look just fine with that. Now I was going to put that in an angle. I think I will. I think I'm just going to set that on the side, pardon my head if it got in there, and stamp that down just like so. And there we have "You Are Loved." Now I did not stamp that perfectly. I'm perfectly fine with not being perfect. So we're going to leave that just like that. Let me just quickly wipe off my stamps because I don't like ink to be on my stamp. And quite frankly, I am done with the inside. That's all I'm doing on the inside. So we'll set that aside. Close up my card, and we're back to the front of the card. So now about the embossing folders and the butterflies. What I did is I took my embossing folders and individually ran them through the embossing folder, each butterfly. So that's why I needed 8. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull up the wings just a little bit, just like so. This is going to be a pretty delicate card. Thankfully, I would say my mom's baby days are over, which technically they are. However, she has a lot of grandkids that come around, so I want it to be sturdy enough to hold up should one of them get a hold of it. And I don't honestly know if this card's going to be that sturdy, but I also know that they're not around all the time, and she can put it up. And I want it. I just love the delicateness, but the texture. And you see that kind of, you still have that little bit of blue peeking through, but you've got the texture of the white on white, and I'm just loving it. So I'm going to go through and do that with each individual butterfly. Now some of these butterflies, when I ran them through the Cuttlebug, I did not pay attention to which was top and which was bottom. And so some of these aren't even going in there exactly top the way they came out, should I say. But again, it doesn't really matter because for them, they're fairly asymmetrical. They're not perfectly asymmetrical, but I'm not asymmetrical. They're fairly symmetrical. Not perfectly so, but fairly symmetrical. And so I thought, well, you know what? If they're a little bit off, it's okay. You won't, because I'm not pressing him down into the hole, it shouldn't be a problem. I'm really, really loving the tone-on-tone textured look of being able to use embossing folders to just give that little bit of texture. But for some reason this year I had another card that I did with a lot of white in it, and for some reason the white is just really making me feel happy. I just think, I don't know, maybe it's just because it reminds me of cleanness, and you know, even if we are a believer and we've trusted Christ to be our Savior, all of our, He sees us white like these butterflies. So maybe that's part of it. Maybe it's just that right now I'm so busy that my house isn't the way I would want it to be. I am not definitely feeling calm. Remember, my word of the year for 2014 was calm. I'm definitely not feeling that, and maybe I like the tone on tone white because it does make me feel calm and kind of collected. Now, if you were going to put this card through the mail, you would have to be sure that everything was going to hold together. Obviously, I want to be sure it's all going to hold together even though I'm not mailing it. Perhaps it would even be safer in the mail than hand delivering it. I don't know. However, do keep that in mind if you decide to try this card, that if you're doing something that you're using such a small amount of glue on, you may need to put a little bit more glue than what you had planned. So just a thought, just something to keep on. I know it seems like I'm rambling. Yeah, I am. But this little process is taking just a bit longer than I thought it would to get all these butterflies in there. But as you can see, they are turning out great. Another thing about the white on white, I really, you know, sometimes we ink around the edges and give it kind of a distressed look, but sometimes it just gives that little extra pop that something needs. And what I'm finding is right now, when I'm doing white on white, a lot of times I don't even want to do that. I just simply want just the white on the white, but we do have that little pop of color that's sneaking through around those butterflies. So there is that for this star. And again, it's just kind of textury and simple. And now I'm going to add the final bit, and that is the sequins. The reason I chose this pack is because I knew it had this white, these white sequins in it. I'm not going to add a lot, but I do like the look of the white sequins on the white card. So let's see. Let's start with this one, and maybe just put it down in this, this corner. I saw people using these these quick sticks on YouTube, and I thought, oh, I think I want to try that. And I never really got around to using it until just the other day. Now I see why everybody likes them. They are pretty fabulous. So using the kind of the rule of threes, I've put one up in this corner, two up in the lower hand corner, and honestly I think I'm done. I think we're just going to call it simple and textured, and I'll slip it in an envelope after I do my handwritten note to my mom, and we will call it good. So thanks so much for stopping by today. I hope you're inspired to try this fun card using the Artfully Sent cartridge. But in the meantime, remember, take some time to enjoy the little things. Have a great day. Bye.